Just so everyone knows,
Yeah.
him and I went that route.
Yeah.
We made those cold calls. We did it.
We know what they sound like.
I made those calls in a freezing office.
Yeah.
Okay, on a small phone.
Yep.
And I went through and did those calls.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a terrifying way of doing business. There's going to be rejection in anything you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's that it's extremely painful. Okay, and welcome back to the MC Fortune podcast. I'm super excited to be here with my business partner, Taylor, like always.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? Good, man.
Dude, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here again with you. I think we really hit it off talking about kind of what we are, what we do, and what we're looking to do.
Yep.
You know, and a lot's changed. I mean, we're not really in the same position we were when we started doing this 2 years ago when
Right.
you and I met.
Yep.
Things have changed. Our minds have
right.
shifted. Financially, a lot's changed for us, and just super blessed to be here with you.
Yeah.
And guys, what we want to do on this podcast every single time that we meet is bring value to everyone. And we want to do that in a way where we can break it down in bite-sized pieces. Everyone can get something out of it, right? Skip the learning curve maybe a little bit, some of the stuff that's tough in this business. And we want to collaborate over compete. That's a big thing for us. And also, you know, it's a huge thing on my part that I just want to give without expectation.
Yep.
There's a lot out there and there's a lot of people that do that. I think when you reach a certain level in your life, that is 150% what you have to do.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm like I said, I'm super excited to be here. A lot's changed with us.
We've quit
you
our
know.
jobs. We're full-time.
Yep, absolutely, man. We quit our jobs back in September, and we were actually planning to quit our jobs in November.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
this is like the power of like setting goals,
Yep.
making sure that you stick to kind of understanding what your goals are and putting that in the forefront of your mind, because a lot of times you'll hit your goal sooner than you think when it's down every day. And so, you know, we quit our jobs in September. We've started doing this full time. We meet, you know, we probably work more than full time. Sometimes we're working a ton, but we meet in the office
Yep.
a lot. And, you know, how have things been going for us, man?
Yeah,
What's
it's good,
been
man.
new
It's
with
good.
us?
It's been wild. We've done a lot. We've met a lot of great people. A lot of new wholesalers, a lot of, you know, veteran wholesalers. We've learned
Right.
from them. Great investors. And I think one of the biggest things that has been powerful for us is helping the newer people, just because we're still at a phase in our business where we're new enough to understand the struggles of a wholesaler
Right.
who's just getting into it, but yet we've had enough success to know, okay, here's how I can help you. Here's the information that I can get you to get you off the ground. And I think that's been one of our passions.
Dude.
And,
It's insane. We
Yep.
literally have been through the ringer with this stuff. People kind of see where you get to and they're like, oh man, you know, good for them. I'm not really that person. I can see how they did that. But what people really need to understand is like we went through it. You're going to have to go through it. There
Yep.
is no getting around that. There's no shortcut to success. Like at the end of the day, it's discipline, determination. You know, you do need to be motivated. Your reason for doing something has to be enormous, right? And so like what you're saying with we've been through it, we've had success, we've been through it. Like we can help you because I've done what I'm telling you to do.
exactly.
I can be there for you because I can empathize with someone that I can feel their pain on, right?
Yeah.
I've been through what you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And the closest thing to a shortcut to success is to get around people who are doing it, you know, doing the thing that you want to do. And that's the biggest thing. And so we have a big passion for helping people who, you know, want to learn. Maybe they've done, you know, one deal or no deals, or they're doing a couple deals a month and they want to scale up. You know, those are the people we like
and
to
let's
help.
face it, man, like a lot of them, it's there's no shame in this. A lot of them have not done a deal. It's okay. But let's understand, like, there's some fundamental reasons why. Number one, we got to get out of our own way. We are capable of achieving success in anything we set our minds to. We have to believe that. Every single person listening to this needs to believe that they're capable.
Yeah.
if you don't have that belief, that you're gonna quit before you start. Okay, and so like new wholesalers are a topic we want to talk about because we're not that seasoned into the business where I'm going to come off as the absolute expert, but I can tell you what, I've been there. A few years ago, I just started knowing absolutely nothing. Like I didn't know what a deal was. I didn't know what a contract was. I didn't know what a cash buyer was. I didn't even really know what wholesalers did.
Well, and I think sometimes in pretty much every industry, it's best to get around somebody who, it's good to learn from the veterans, but to get around the people who are just bridging that gap is sometimes better because those people understand what you're going through. You know, we understand the things that, well, I didn't understand this, 6 months ago or a year ago, and I learned it,
And you get the question all the time. I get it too. What would you guys do? What would you recommend I do? Right? We get the phone call. Someone reaches out. What would you recommend I do to get started? And the first question I ask is like, why are you doing this? Because the reason, you need to have a compelling reason to do something. Okay. If you're doing this because you kind of think it's interesting, maybe you want to make some extra money, but it's just a little interesting to you. It's going to be a lot harder for you to make it in this business than it is for someone that like needs a change.
Yeah. It's the people that the most successful people that we talk to starting new and actually getting it off the ground are the people who say, I can't do what I'm doing anymore. I have to get something that's more time freeing. I have to get something that's more beneficial financially, right? That I have to get into something that I enjoy. How many people do we talk to where they're like, my job is so boring and I can't stand it. I can't do it. And on top of that, it doesn't pay well. Right. So, they see what we're doing and maybe this isn't their thing, but getting that why is what really takes them off the ground versus the people that we talk to that say, well, it'd be cool to have, just a little bit of extra income. It's, it's not going to work out well.
It's not the same thing.
There's too much of a struggle for you to actually give it your all.
Yeah. It's not going to be easy. Okay. You have to tie your resilience and determination, get tied to past pain, really, is what it is, right? I can't go another month where the car breaks down and it tanks me financially. How many people do you know, if they don't have an extra $400, it's like the end of the world. And they don't see a way out of that because there's so many things in life that condition us to believe that we can't go out there and create. We can't go out there and earn.
Right.
And so what I always tell people to do is it doesn't matter if it's real estate. I love real estate. I was interested in real estate. I wanted to be involved in real estate. My reasons tied down to, wanting to create financial freedom for my family, wanting to just kind of get into that business and meet all the people. I matched with their personalities. That was my thing, but it doesn't matter what it is. If you want to be a financial advisor, if you want to own a gym, if you want to, run a restaurant, go find someone who's doing that thing at a high level and talk with them. There's absolutely no reason you can't do that.
And I want to drill into that point too, because I think a lot of people who are just starting out, maybe they're college age, maybe, right? They don't know what it's like to talk to people who have great success. And so they think they think it's the boogeyman, right?
Yeah.
But one of the biggest lessons that we learned in the last 2 years is those people who are successful in your industry are some of the most giving people as far as their time. They're busy, but they will give you the information. They want to help you because they like to teach people what they've learned, just like we like to teach people too. But get around those people and talk and say, I want to learn what you're doing, right? Yeah. And they'll help you.
Skip the learning curve. This is what I'm talking about with there's steps in this business or any business that you want to join and get into. But what do you think Tony Robbins, all these big names, Grant Cardone, all these guys do? They study people who are doing really good in something, and they either go in and replicate it, or they ask questions for them and they incorporate it in their business, and they take off.
Yeah,
they launch. They get ahead of it.
You brought up earlier, what would I tell somebody who wants to get started, and what's the first step? Get around somebody who's winning in what you want to do.
Absolutely.
And the phone call would be, hey, you're crushing it. I want to do what you do. How can I help you? and learn from you. And I guarantee you, I would take that. If I got that phone
Absolutely.
call right now, I'd take that,
Absolutely. And how many times do we get that call?
Yeah.
Where it's kind of similar. Like, see what you guys are doing. It's awesome. Like, I need help. I'm not in a place. How many people do I keep in contact with where they're just like literally a few steps away, but they're not putting the pieces together and they just need help. But they don't think there's help.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got how many people in the last month, two off the top of my head, wholesalers who came to us, never did a deal, didn't even really know the whole transaction.
Yeah.
And we did their first deal with them in this last month.
He went out and did everything we said to do.
Yep.
He put his determination down. He asked questions. He was coachable. Right. There's a lot of things, and I wanted to talk about like the expectation, and I talked on this for a minute, but the expectation of like, how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
Is it going to happen overnight? No. There is no shortcut to success. I can't say that enough.
It doesn't exist.
And I'll never stop saying it because here's the thing. If you come into this, the reason I say expectations, if you come into this or any business and you say, I expect to see a lot of results in the next 2 weeks, if I guarantee that I can get like $5,000 in 2 weeks, you're setting the wrong expectation right up front.
That's right.
And that's not going to work for you.
And that's not to say like we can get a deal today and get it, finished up and closed out and paid in 2 weeks. But but
what happened first?
For 2 years and so a new person to do that is impossible. It's impossible.
And am I saying like a year or two you need to go out and bang your head against the wall? Absolutely not.
No.
But I would say like 90 to 120 days of like sticking to that thing, making sure you put in the reps and staying consistent. I read this book a long time ago. I don't know. It's like the only thing in the book I remember. The guy sold like ACs, Weldon Long, and it was called Consistency Selling. And the only thing I remember, I like the guy. He's a good coach. But he said consistent activity leads to consistent results.
Right.
Random activity leads to random results, but people don't seem to understand that. They think you can come in, hey, I'm talking with you. How many offers have you made? I made 3 offers last week. They all got rejected. Okay, like you need to understand something. You have to make a lot more offers.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that that's part of it. That's part of the expectation piece,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's really not a hard thing.
No.
But it's kind of like fundamentals. If you are a really good salesperson, and that's a great skill to have,
Absolutely.
it kind of translates into anything.
Yeah.
You understand your expectations of doing something. You're not getting it on one call. You're not getting it on one follow-up. You're not getting it on one anything.
No.
You have to put in the work. And we want to just develop our skills along the way.
Right.
And get better. But I talk about it all the time. Just you and I go on these stupid rants, right? But quantity over quality or quality over quantity. I think, to me, you have to be focused on the fact that, yes, business and sales is a numbers game.
Right.
It always will be.
Yeah.
But we have to learn how to convert higher in the process, because I think developing your skills to a higher standpoint is way more effective than banging your head against the wall.
Yep.
So, I mean, you can give them an example, but I mean, it's like every single day we do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you can do well in this business by just making it a numbers game, but why not make those numbers count the right way, so that instead of me making 200 calls and getting a deal, I can do it in 20 calls. Right. And so that's one of the ways that we have, and everybody has their own business, right? We know people personally who play the numbers game, right? Yeah. And I'm just going to, hit, pound the door until my head spins, right?
Right. And there's a time and place for that.
And there is, yeah, absolutely. But because you have to learn to get good at the call. You have to learn, so there is going to be a curve, but once you get good at that phone call, you're going to understand, okay, I can get my point across and come in and deliver this message to whoever it is, the realtor in our case, we're calling realtors. I can build that relationship. I can get the message across on it. I can make that offer compelling and make them know I'm a professional. I'm going to get this
Not
done.
here to waste your time.
I'm not here to waste your
Yeah.
time. And we can do a lot of business together.
Yeah.
And that is going to work way better than somebody who's just playing willy-nilly and calling 200 people.
They're flooding the market with offers.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and I didn't really want to go into this too much today, but I'll touch on it for a second. But the reason that real estate agents and wholesalers have like this negative force with each other, it really comes down to wholesalers at the end of the day just flat out wasting their time.
Yeah.
You can't make offers that are too high you can't deliver on. You're not depositing earnest money. You're not actually going through and giving them a reason to make a price reduction. And it's really unprofessional.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's why a lot of that kind of gets a bad reputation. Now, is that what we do in a lot of good wholesalers? No. But unfortunately, it only takes a few people to kind of ruin that for everyone.
Yep.
So we want to also be a part of the industry. I mean, Brent Daniels, Pace Morby, Jamil Damji, these guys are trying to change that look.
Yeah.
And they're doing a great job, and we want to be a part of that as well because it's not an industry that should be frowned upon, but it's kind of been lacked with education. It's been lacked with licensing. It's been lacked with regulatory bodies that are kind of keeping that check. That's changing. We understand that. And that's just part of how it's going to work.
Yeah.
And it's okay. But we have to better ourselves in this industry and become better and the eyes of people and do things right.
Yeah.
And the respect comes back.
And we've dealt with it ourselves, and it's we have realtors who, we've both come really close to in relationships. I've got one in particular that I talk to pretty much every single day. And, he's a realtor. We're wholesalers. We work together on deals. We get them done. We all get paid.
On
We're
the
all
same
happy.
page.
Yep. And
Absolutely.
And those people exist, but also people that exist are wholesalers who are doing the wrong things consistently, and they not only make the realtors mad, but they make us upset at times too, where, we wish. That's why we do this, because we want to get to those people. We want to teach them. We want them to understand we can't just do this. We can't just lock up contracts that we're not going to move. There's no way you're going to move it there, and you're wasting people's time.
Yeah.
So
Well, here's what it comes down to, and we both know this, right? We're not in this category because we did pay for training and we took that very seriously. But there is a significant lack in training in the wholesale industry, and also there's flat out a lack of regulation. If everyone and their cousin can jump into it, what do you think you get, right?
Right.
If you charge $50 for the movie ticket versus a free ticket, what's about to happen?
Yep.
The line's going to be out the door versus someone that's got to pay $50 a ticket, and you're going to get a little bit difference in quality. Now, I'm not saying that I have an issue with the fact that anyone can get involved in this.
No.
I'm saying that, unfortunately, I think that's part of the problem, but that people need to kind of they need to lean on someone that can help them in any market you're in. There
Right.
are people that you can reach out to and get some help.
So before it's being forced for
Right.
you to get regulated and learn, you just need to learn. You just need to meet with somebody who's winning and who's doing the right things, and they're playing by the rules and they're doing it professionally, and learn from them so that you can do all of that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, put yourself in their shoes. You're listing a property, or you've got a property off market, and your job is to be a fiduciary for that person. Your job is to give them the absolute best advice you can give them and give them the best offer possible. And someone comes along and they make the wrong expectations. They're not being straightforward, and they dance around. And at the end of the day, everyone's time gets wasted. It's frustrating. So that's going to change.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of things like on our team, anyone that works with us, or if we have any partners that come in, like we make sure to do things in order of what we need to do them, right? We're going to vet the deal. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to actually make sure that this is something we can perform on, because we're not putting things under contract and throwing it at the wall.
Right, exactly. And just to clarify too, we're not bashing on wholesalers who don't know, because we were them. We understand
Absolutely.
that. We've done things.
And we didn't know better.
Yeah, and we didn't know better. It's not like we know that the new wholesalers out there who are doing these things, they're not doing it to be harmful.
No.
They just don't know.
Well, some of them are, but that's
well, yeah.
they end up in prison and some other things, right?
Right.
Like you see
Yeah,
that going
exactly.
on.
Yeah.
But that's anyone, right? You can have some
That's
bad
any
eggs
industry.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And so moving on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an important thing to touch on. I don't want it to be most of our focus, but I wanted to kind of go into where do I get started?
Right.
How do I start doing this? What do you guys recommend?
Yep.
What does everyone recommend?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's going to tell you something different, and nothing is right or wrong.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
But I'll tell you what we do and kind of our reason for it. And anyone else in the audience that's listening to this, you guys just, it really depends on what you're looking to do, who you kind of think, oh, you know what, I really agree with what this guy's saying, and I want to mimic that.
Yep.
I want to do with that what he's doing. There's no problem. There's nothing right or wrong. One of the things that we focus a lot on is called agent outreach. It's really just us having conversations with realtors in our market that come across distressed things. We're not looking for things that are financeable for the most part.
Right.
We're just not.
Right.
And sometimes it's just outdated. It's financeable, but it's not going to appraise. Right. And, it might be way overpriced and it's better for a cash buyer. Like that's a whole different story. But we have a conversation and it's something like this. Hey, I'm looking for properties that need a significant amount of work or anything that's completely outdated to the point it looks like your grandma's lived there since she was 12. Do you have anything that I can look at? And, if you get a question like, hey, are you wholesaling this? It's an exit strategy I utilize.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Be transparent with that.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yep.
What they want to make sure that they know is that you're not coming in to give them a bad experience because they've had it or they've heard about it.
Right.
Right. So that's a free channel.
Yeah.
If anything else, it's free.
Yeah. And it's repeating too.
Absolutely. It's relationship business.
Because why would an agent who just got paid a commission on something that you worked with them on not bring you the next opportunity just like that?
Yeah, they got paid.
Yep.
It went through.
Yep.
You understood it. You helped them. There's a value that you can add to them. Also, like if you start working together a lot, we have people like this right now. We'll split our assignment fee with you.
Yep.
We don't care.
No.
We're not watching pockets. We don't want to do that.
Right.
So that's one method that we utilize.
Yep.
And we do some other things as well. The other thing that we're pretty heavy on, and it's just something I really love to do because I know I'm helping people in this industry, is I like wholesaler outreach.
Yep.
Wholesaler outreach is literally just building relationships with wholesalers. Maybe they're established, maybe they're not quite there, maybe they're kind of in the middle. But you understand the market pretty good. You have a really good set of buyers that you like and trust, and that kind of goes both ways. And you can actually help them. You can help them with comping. You can help them with buy numbers. You can help them with the terms and the paperwork. You can help them with title, and you can help them move it. That's what we do. That's our main thing, and I love that. I love that because I love seeing people who are maybe struggling or just getting started or kind of in the middle just take off and crush it because they're right there, but they just needed to connect with one person.
Right.
And we did that starting off.
Yeah. And we still do to this day.
And we still do.
Yep.
Absolutely.
We just had another wholesaler move one of our deals that we were working on.
Yeah.
Because they had a better buyer for it. So, it's
okay.
It never, and we know people who have been doing this 10, 15 years plus, and they come to us and we, so it's all working together.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, that's kind of my favorite outreach channel. It's free. Again, guys, like what it comes down to is understanding your market and understanding buy numbers, and like you kind of need to like know what you're doing. There's ways where if you don't know what you're doing, you can connect. One of those ways is like micro flipping, where you're not the person that has all the data and the knowledge and all the understanding, but you might have a partner that is, or a guy that like would totally have a buyer for it. And they understand, and maybe you're kind of inserted in the middle while you're learning. As long as you can actually help that person, right? Like that's kind of like an ideal micro flip. You're with the person that's direct on the contract. You're in the middle, and then the person on the other end is the dispo arm. That's kind of usually where we fall, is on the dispo arm of it. But we do that with people. We just got to know the situation, right? And another thing is like MLS outreach. Now, I want to just make sure people understand this. Are we looking on the MLS for things that are pretty much turnkey, financeable, good condition, any of that. No, it's not our game. What we're looking for is something that looks like it needs a lot of work, like cabinets busted up, roof destroyed, a garage falling down, right? Water in the basement, all these things. That's going to have to go to a cash buyer.
It's an investment property.
But what the problem is for a lot of realtors that do this, and it's no one's fault, is investment real estate is very specialized. You really have to understand why a cash buyer needs it at a certain number to price it well. Right? So maybe you're setting an expectation with your client that I can get this done at 150, for example, but a cash buyer is going to want it at like 80, right? It's not your intention. It's not your fault, but you didn't know, right? Because we have closing costs on the back end, like 8%. If we got to pay for title fees and that, we've got to pay for realtor commissions, right? That adds up. Most buyers are going to use financing, private or hard money. A lot of times they're going to factor in a good amount for rehab so they can do it right, especially in this market where interest rates are going to come down, but they're not quite there. And they got to make some money to take the risk. They just have to. It's a business for them. They're not attached to these properties. It's all logic decisions. They take the emotion completely out of it. So that's what we're looking for on the market, right? We're looking for those opportunities. We have a conversation with the realtors. We tell them if we're going to make an offer, we let them know, like, hey, we want to get an idea of what's going on. I'm not going to insult you into your seller. I don't want to. Hey, maybe I'm not the best fit for this, but can I let you know where I'd probably have to be based on X, Y, and Z? A lot of people, unfortunately, are just going on, talking to the realtor, throwing an offer at them, giving no justification, and you can't do that. It will hurt you in this business. It will hurt you as a professional. You're talking professional. You should be a professional. And you need to treat them that way, right?
Absolutely.
And so it just goes a lot longer.
I was going to say, too, wholesalers who are listening, I know what they're thinking, right? Can you move a MLS deal to a buyer? Are they happy to pay a wholesale fee for that? So, that's one of the things that we laugh about a lot, because when we first started, we had wholesalers who were veterans, I would say. They did a lot of deals, and they would constantly talk about, well, I can't move that. It's on market, right? So that kind of got in our head a little bit. And then we were so confused by it, because we're like, well, isn't a deal, right? Like, does it matter if it's a deal at 80 grand off market, it's a deal at 80 grand on market, right? So, we move on market deals all the time. There's a couple rules you have to follow, right? I'm not getting it at asking and moving it above, right? I'm getting it at the right price. There's an order of operations, right? We're going to make sure that we actually have someone that will and can perform on that, like within the first day or two, based on what we know, right? This is not getting blasted to 1 million people. This is like good, solid relationships that you have. You're getting to these individuals that you trust and are good people and not going to do something weird, right? Not going to make anyone nervous, and you're just getting it done quickly, and you're depositing your earnest money like you're supposed to, you're setting up title like you're supposed to, and you're performing on the agreement of the contract. That's all it is. There's no difference with it. And here's all the value that we add on these MLS deals too that people don't think about, right? Number one, we add value for the buyer, because we're talking about deals that have been on the market for 120 days, 180 days, right? It's on there that long because it's priced wrong for an investor. The investor will not call that property. They refuse to. Most of them, I'd say 99% of them.
Well, think of it like this, right? If it's listed at, again, we'll use 150, and they got to be at 80, they just don't think it's going to work. Oh, I'm going to offend them. It's just not going to work. Wasting my time. Yada, yada. Now we're sitting on market 30, 45 days. And what happens at that point is it's really losing interest. Okay. The longer it sits, kind of the worse condition we're going to be as far as the price. So what needs to happen is a price drop needs to occur, or it's getting taken down. So this is why we always want to ask when we're on the phone with them in a nice way, like, Look, I mean, if this doesn't sell at the price they're wanting it to sell, what's the next step for them?
Right.
Are they in a position where they have to sell the house, or do they need, or are they just going to take it down?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Are they
Right.
going to remove it? This is your way of knowing, hey, what's a good opportunity to keep on and keep following up on based on what the person says. We know one thing for certain in this business, and that is if you have a deal that needs to go to a cash investor, it's getting done at a cash number that works.
Yep.
And there's no going around that.
Or it's taken off market.
Or it's done.
Yeah.
Right? Or it's getting taken away. And, there's other ways to help them. Maybe it's not in that bad a condition. We can do something creative.
Right.
We can offer terms.
Right.
If it's really good and they're just going to write a check, they can't sell it less, we'll take over the note.
Right.
There's all kinds of things we can offer to help them, but a cash number is a cash number. There is no squeezing and stretching 40, 50 grand above.
Right. And at least in the market that we're in right now, you're not getting, a couple to go in and fix the property up and live there. They
No.
don't want that.
No.
They're not doing that with the interest rates the way they are.
If they go back to, I'll tell you what, if they go back to 2%,
Then
you know what? Maybe.
Right.
But it's not going to appraise where it needs to. You're going to come in with extra. You're going to have to fix it up. There's all sorts of reasons why it's tough.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe it's not even financeable unless they fix the roof.
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
Right. So we have all sorts of reasons why it's beneficial to get a cash offer, and other times where we're just not the right fit and move on.
Right.
The other channel I wanted to discuss here that is highly taught, mostly taught, has been taught for a long time, is the direct to seller method.
Right.
It's simply where you're going in and you're getting a hold of the seller, whether that's you or someone on your team calling them or whatever.
Right.
A mailer, pay-per-click ad. There's all sorts of ways you can do it.
Right.
It's really just, it comes down to this. To me, this is the biggest thing. If you're starting out, that is not a free, inexpensive way to do this.
Right.
In any way, shape, or form. Is it effective? Yes. It is effective. It works.
Right.
A lot of companies do this. They only do this.
Right.
But they also have the capital to keep funneling money into that.
Right.
I mean, just to skip trace names, right? On top of the fact that a lot of these people are advertising, they're sending mailers, I mean, right now the average contract in the U.S. is like $8,500.
Right.
And marketing to get a contract.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But starting out, can I say I would recommend that if you have the resources, I think that's awesome. And you should look into that. But if you don't have the resources, I would not recommend it.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And even then, if you're cold calling sellers, right? Or you're getting into that if you want a deal in a couple months, your first deal in a couple months, that's not the route.
Oh my God, no.
Because you call somebody and she says, yeah, I do want to sell.
Yeah.
Well, when? Probably in the next couple of years. Oh my gosh, right? Yeah.
By the way, just so everyone knows,
Yeah.
him and I went that route.
Yeah.
We made those cold calls. We did it.
We know what they sound like.
I made those calls in a freezing office.
Yeah.
Okay, on a small phone.
Yep.
And I went through and did those calls.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a terrifying way of doing business. There's going to be rejection in anything you do. It's that it's extremely painful.
It takes too
long.
long.
And cold calling is, to me, nothing more than a marketing channel.
Yeah.
You're going to put in all of your time if you can't put in the money.
Right.
To substitute that.
Right.
Right. And so it's an effective strategy. It works great. But if you're starting out, at least when you're talking to an agent and they've got something right now, someone just raised their hand and said, I need to and want to sell as quickly as possible. That kind of sets you in that's why I say about 90 to 120 days. That's pretty average, right? That's just from making offers, following up, maybe landing something that you just had a good conversation on. But when we're talking direct to seller, you need to figure in probably 3 to 6 months minimum. Right. Not under the 90 days. It's just not likely. And it's also not repeatable. A lot of times you do business with the seller and it's over. You do business with an agent and you're going to do business with the agent again, likely.
Right.
You do business with the wholesaler, you're likely helping them again. So what you're creating, and the difference is you're taking maybe higher assignment fees on some of these when you get them. You're hoping everything goes right, because if it doesn't, it hurts. It hurts real bad when you put the money into it. Or you're building a scalable, repeatable referral business that just runs on autopilot. And for us, man, that has been incredible. It's what I recommend to everyone. But of course, like I say, everyone has to kind of fit with their mold. Who do you want to be? Where are you at? What's your reason for doing this? Maybe your circumstances are different. I don't know. Right. So it's not to say anything wrong about that, but I want to talk about the ways in which we go about doing this business.
Right.
There is no right or wrong answer, but you have to understand kind of there's a different methodology to all of it.
And the way that we've kind of done it is, of course, like we said with the agents, and there's nothing that feels better than, you're sitting on your couch at 7:00 at night and you get 3 texts from agents with things to look at for tomorrow.
All the time.
All the time. And we're like, personally in our business, we're going to add in the direct to seller, but it's not going to be you and I making calls to the seller, right? It's a next step kind of thing.
That's exactly. I mean, that's a good point that you talked on that. Am I saying, well, you guys don't go direct to seller, so it's not really a fair? We're going to go direct to seller, 100%. But if you think I'm sitting in front of the computer and I'm making about 200 calls a day with all the things I have going on, including stuff like this and all the other things that we do, it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's impossible for me to do it.
Yep.
But now, can I hire a VA? 100%.
Right.
That's one thing they can do. I can grab the opportunities that are actually going to want to talk to me, and I'll talk to them. I can convert those.
Yeah.
That's a good use of you and I's time.
Right.
So like there's a way to do it, like I said, that makes sense.
And it's not
but
the
we're
first
also
step.
in a place where we can afford that.
Right.
And we're not just starting.
No.
I can afford to pay someone to do it. I can afford to pay for the software. I can afford to skip trace. I can afford it.
We can afford for the deal to not close in 120 days.
Right.
Right.
I have it.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that's part of it. Like, expect 3 months with no deal. That's how it's going to work. So it's where I went with expectations. Like, expect, set the right expectations so you're not like, what is going on?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So,
and I did want to transition to, in just a second here, I just want to transition to part of this when we're talking about like how we do everything. And I just went into for a second, like, hey, I'm so busy with things. Dude, that happened because you and I, before we quit our jobs, showed up every single day and worked and stayed consistent in the things that we call green activities,
right.
which I'll go into. And now we're at a point where it's like, dude, I have so much coming in. I have so much going on. I can hardly keep up with this.
Right.
Like, I literally cannot like fully keep up with all of it. And we're trying to scale. And, so what I wanted to talk about is the productivity part of it. It's kind of my thing. Like, you and I, by the way, you and I got into business together. We were buddies. I mean, we were friends and everything, but I'd say more so we became friends through our business and our vision and our shared goals. But I bring different things to the table than you bring.
Right.
And that's okay. We're not the same exact person. I'd actually recommend you don't get into business with someone that's exactly alike.
Right.
My thing is productivity, strategy, execution, right? And just like hold us to that stuff. You're like I call you Mr. Push It Through.
Right.
Because you are going to follow up with someone. You are going to like take a tough phone call. You're going to grab things in our business that are really hard for me to like go in and deal with. You're going to have a conversation that's really tough.
Right.
You will do whatever is necessary to like take the pieces and force it to the finish line.
Right.
And like, that's where we differ. But my thing's productivity.
Right.
One 100%. Of them. Right.
Yeah.
And so what we do every single day is we come in and have things on our calendar. So what I do is I schedule us around it. Schedule around what you have on the calendar. Don't try and do it backwards. It's hard, right? And put down your things that you would say are your non-negotiables. For us, and I'd say really just for anyone, doesn't matter. It's things like prospecting, right? I don't really write down prospecting. I write down call agents or something. But it's talking with agents, it's talking with sellers, it's making offers on things that are listed. That we can't miss that, right? That's a non-negotiable.
Right.
Comping and making offers, right? I tell people, like, go in and make your phone calls, have a conversation, understand if there's motivation for this, it's going to make sense for you, then go back and comp it. Then go in. You can look at it at a quick glance while you're on the phone, whatever. But like, then go back and comp it and make a solid offer.
And one of the things that you're really good at, and that's helped us tremendously, is blocking the time and talking about, making sure that you hit those things and just work on that at that time. So that's something that's invaluable to these people, and it's something that if you're taking notes, I'd write down.
And I'm probably gonna screw this up. I think it's called the Pomodoro technique or something like that.
Something fancy.
But you know what? Doesn't matter. It's essentially you set aside what you want to do and you assign a time to it. And so I write on the whiteboard. I'm as simple as that. I write on the whiteboard what we're going to do. I put a time frame next to it and I set my timer. And what I do when that is done is we're on to the next thing because I'm on to the next segment. And that's one of the things where I can, in 4 hours, do 8-9 hours worth of work because I'm so focused in the time that I have that we just move.
You get a call, you get an email, whatever.
I'll get back to it.
It's
Absolutely.
not now, not right now.
And those are non-negotiable things too, like sticking to our time. Right. And so follow-ups is another thing that's non-negotiable. Getting back to people on issues we just got to handle. That's non-negotiable. And just like making sure that we're working with our other wholesalers or whoever is coming in, like I think responsiveness is huge. Like 24-hour responsive, you need to respond within 24 hours or don't try and offer your help.
Right, absolutely.
I'm sorry. Like you have to, they need your help now. They can't wait 4 days.
Right.
You responding separates you immediately.
Absolutely. I was going to say one thing too on the time blocking thing. I was talking to one of the wholesalers that we're working with and kind of trying to explain that because I think that that's a big problem with a lot of people. It was a big problem for me before you and I met is, being too all over the place. And I gave him the example of if you're doing chores around your house, you're not going to mow one path in the lawn and then go back and do 2 dishes and then go clean the table and then go back to the lawn. It doesn't make any sense. No. You're going to finish that one thing. You're going to do that one thing, and then you're going to do the next thing. So why in your work day are you taking a phone call and then getting over here and doing this email and then going back to your project? It takes too much time.
Right. And now if there's a fire to put out, there's something immediately you got to handle, like handle it. I'm not I'm not going to tell you that there's times when that's not going to make sense to interrupt your segment. You're going to have to eventually.
Right.
And so, like, it's just one of those things. Like I said, like I bring a certain set of skill sets to the table. You do as well. And, I wanted to talk about also, like, one of the skill sets I brought to the table too was I love learning, right? A lot of times you and I will be on the phone or you'll come in and I'm telling you about something I heard or listened to or read. And it's every day. I mean, every day I'm looking at that stuff. I love to just see what's out there and learn from other people. And one thing early on that I would say hurt me a little bit was taking advice from people that probably I shouldn't have taken their advice. It didn't really apply to who I was. It didn't apply to what I was looking to accomplish, my goals for it. And so I just wanted to touch on that. And there's a lot of information out there. There is a lot of people out there who are going to give you advice, whatever it is you're going to do. But real estate, holy cow. There's some really good advice out there, but be careful about the stuff that, could take you down a path that's not going to make sense.
Right.
Are you in the situation? You have to ask yourself some questions with this, right? Are you in the spot where you're financially able to do what they're recommending? Are you in a place where you know the expectations of what they're recommending?
Right.
Do you have support from anyone around whatever they're doing? You have a way to reach out to them. Right. Does it align with who you are and your goals? It might not.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, don't follow that path.
And is what they're saying, does it even make sense?
Seriously.
Right? Like you can kind of tell, right? Even if you don't know,
Yeah.
you can kind of like think it through and say, does it make sense what they're saying?
Yeah.
You know?
And there's YouTube University, there's all kinds of things out there. But what separates people that kind of accelerate is they get educated.
Yeah.
They get
Yep.
educated.
Absolutely.
They stop messing around with a million pieces of advice, and they're going to every shiny object here and every shiny object here. It's like the funniest thing to me when people come in and they make something work, and then they're like, "Hey, dude, I'm thinking about doing pay-per-click now."
Yeah.
Like, hang on a minute.
You just did a
Dude, it
deal off
worked.
of agent calls. Yeah.
You need to stop taking the thing that worked for you
Yeah.
and going off course, because that's what sets in delays and frustration, and people eventually just exit the business, and it's not good.
Well, it's a new learning curve too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Like every tough thing that there is to do, there's a high failure rate. We want to obviously change. That's part of our mission. But it's true.
Right.
And there's a lot of reasons for it. One of them is mindset. One of them is determination and resilience. And like I said, expectations with it, making sure you know what you're getting into and agreeing to it, right? If you get to a job interview and the job's like, hey, it's 80 hours a week, $12 an hour. Everyone here is going to be rude to you.
Yep.
They're going to hate you. You will not be appreciated. You're going to not accept that role, hopefully. I'd hope you'd have enough, care and love for yourself to say I'm a lot better than that.
Right.
And hope that you understand that your value is way higher than what anyone else is going to be able to pay you, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur. No one's going to value you as much as you value yourself. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So expectations, like, hey, it's going to be a lot of calls. It's going to be a lot of following up. There's going to be a lot of rejected offers. There's going to be some things that happen. You're going to have some cancellations.
Yep.
Oh, I'm with that. I like that. I get it.
Yep.
Cool. It's easier now for you to like have a frame in your mind of like what you're getting into.
Right.
And so like, just make sure, again, I just want to drop one more time, make sure you're careful about who you're getting your advice from.
Absolutely.
Now, everyone's got their opinions about paid mentorship. I'll tell you right now, it took my life to a whole nother level when I got around someone that could help me. And now we're astro flipping students. I'm proud to say that. It changed our life.
Yep.
Jamil Damji is absolutely the man.
Right. Well, we
aligned with him, didn't we?
Yeah.
His
and
personality.
We did it the freeway, right?
Yep.
You talked about doing the calls in the office with your, we're shaking, we're in the
Dude.
car, we're in the cold, and we're calling sellers, we're doing several cold calls a day. And it's we didn't do many deals at all off of that strategy. And the second we got help from paid mentorship, we took off, right? And so the freeway is good. It can get you,
But you're lacking a lot of things.
Right.
So if you can't do the freeway, or you can't do the paid mentorship way, and you got to do it for free, I understand that. You and I came from a spot where we didn't have a lot. Right. We were not in a position of like, oh, we have all this money and let's like, dude, we barely had it. We put it together. We figured it out. We believed in ourselves, which again, I mentioned is huge. Like, you have to believe in yourself first before you jump into anything. If you don't believe in yourself, don't jump in.
Right.
And you need to envision what it's going to be like too. You need to put that into your mental framework. This is going to work. I'm going to take off, and my family and my life is going to change. Then you start, right? But if you can't pay for something, get around the guy or the gal or whoever in your market and say, hey, can I work with you? Like, can I do this? Can I send you the opportunities that I'm getting? Can you help me comp them? Maybe let me, like, I'll tell you what I think it's going to be after repair value and what maybe we should pick it up at. And then maybe you could just help me like come up with buy numbers and maybe get on the phone with me if I'm really close. How many people would say, yeah. And then you know for a fact that at least they're answering your questions. You're not making all these mistakes. If you get an offer accepted, it's gonna likely move. There's like a good chance of all these things. You're not wasting anyone's time.
Right.
That's the option that I would say go and do. Whether you're in paid mentorship or not, I think you should do that. But if you're not doing a paid mentorship like Astro or creative finance with Pace or whatever you're doing, like, like find someone.
Yeah. And that's how you get paid to learn too.
Absolutely.
Because at the same time you're getting paid.
You're getting paid
by doing deals. And
you
learning.
You don't know any better. It's okay.
Yeah. And you're learning how to
take time to learn.
And you're learning how to understand a deal.
Yes.
How to underwrite it.
Yeah.
You know, how to do everything.
And that leads in perfectly to I think I said this on the last podcast. I don't know for sure, but like the two roadblocks that I see, and I think this is just common in any state. It doesn't really matter. But if you're a new wholesaler, or you've been doing this for a while and haven't gotten a deal, you've gotten deals and you had to cancel everything, which I don't really think that's something to be ashamed of, because at least you're taking the jump, and you have the courage, which is Grant Cardone says this all the time, dude. You need courage. You need courage to jump in. You have to understand it's not going to be easy. You're going to have rude people talk to you. It's okay.
Yeah.
If you work at McDonald's, you're going to deal with rude people.
Right. Yeah.
You just learn how to deal with them before you jump into anything.
Yeah.
But they're having a hard time like understanding what the future repair value or after repair value is going to be.
Right.
Understanding value is like your number one thing to a buyer.
Right.
As a wholesaler.
Yeah, because it starts the whole breakdown of the deal. If you have that wrong, it's all wrong.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And when you wonder why, like some buyers, they get things sent to them priced horribly. I don't know how anyone could think these are deals, and they get frustrated.
Right.
They're like, take me off your list. I can't work with you because this is like 8th one in a row where it's just so far off from like understanding where I need to be that like it's just wasting my time. I'm looking at all these, and so like that's one thing. Getting connected with someone would do. That's one thing we offer.
Right.
If you need help, underwriting your deal, and you don't know for sure, and you're getting asked for a buy number, take it to me. I'll help you. Hey Zach, like where do I need to be here and why?
Right.
I'll break it down. I'll do some math for you. We can talk about it. So like understand the value of every single deal. You have to know that.
Right.
If you can get past that hurdle, you just jumped past 90% of wholesalers, and you're in a whole different thing now. And then if you're on acquisitions, especially, I don't know if it matters as much with dispo if you're mostly dispo, but on acquisitions, especially talking to agents, I'd say talking to sellers too. You need to have a conversation with them on the offer in a very professional way.
Right.
We can't guess. We can't make things up. We can't assume.
Right.
You cannot come in and just throw it at them.
No.
And expect anything to happen. And one of the things that I'd say teach or help people with is, hey, here's what I'd recommend you go about that conversation with. I would actually tell them where you're thinking is going to resell. That gives something up here of like, oh, okay, that makes sense on why they're last, number one.
Right.
Tell them what you're probably thinking the rehab is going to be to fix it. Let them make sure they didn't forget, as a fix and flipper, especially, when I resell this, I have cost.
Right.
Here's what that's probably going to be. I'm going to use hard money. That's my problem, but it's still a problem.
Yep.
Right? And I got to make some money to take the risk. There's no way around that.
Right.
This is a business, not a charity. It's nothing else.
Yep.
And so it's not like I'm saying you're going to get every offer accepted with that.
No.
What I am saying is that it makes it way easier to make your offers when you can come in at that angle.
Well, how many agents, like we just had one last week where I talked to them. We did basically what we call a non-offer, which is I'm not going to make an offer because it doesn't make sense, right? So they're listed at 220. I need to be at 120, right? It's right now that is, if I just come in and say, hey, I'm going to be at 120, I'm probably going to get yelled at and hung up on, right, by an agent.
Sure.
And I should be.
Yeah.
But when I can go in and I can say, hey, you know what? I looked it over.
Yeah.
After repair value on this is 230 and you're at 220. right there.
Now
they
we're
can-
playing a
right-
game of how much am I going to lose?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now they can understand, right? And I had that conversation with the agent.
Yeah.
And by the end of the call, after he did pull the offer out of me, but what I did was I broke it down. Well, here's where it's going to sell at. You agree with me there, right?
Yeah.
And he, okay, yeah. And then we talked about, well, I'm going to put this in repairs. You can see that, right? Oh yeah, definitely,
sure.
right? Okay, this is what it's going to cost me on the back end. Yeah. Okay. And now we get to a number. And it makes sense of why I have to be that much less. And he's thanking me for telling him that way instead of just shooting a number from the hip.
And that's where you get responses back that are human responses. I mean, they seem very negative, but it's frustrating to them, right? They have an expectation with the seller, regardless of anything. They have to take that offer to them. It's insultingly low a lot of times. It's not our intention, but it is, right? No one's happy with that. Right. Now, when you can treat them as a human being, which is all this is, by the way, what we do is we treat them as a human being. I'm not lowballing.
No.
I'll give you as high as I freaking can.
Yeah.
I don't want to lowball you, but I also know that this isn't a deal anywhere near where you have it.
Right.
Okay. And it's also going to have to go to a cash buyer. So can I tell you where I do have to be? Right. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
And there's respect in that.
Yep.
And again, I wanted you to talk just for a minute about the importance of follow-up, man.
Yeah.
Like this deal, let's say, for example, I find out that they are motivated. They do have to sell, and they're just not, they're not ready.
Yep.
They're not ready for it.
So we're going to constantly, professionally follow up with that realtor, see, if anything's changed with it, right? I'm still here. That's all you're letting them know. I'm still here, right? And you're asking for other things as well.
Yeah.
Because there is going to come a day where that, like you mentioned earlier, that property is either going to sell for a cash buyer's price because it needs it, right? We're talking about dilapidated houses here. We're not talking about nice houses.
Yeah.
It's going to sell for this price or it's going to get taken down. So I want to be the guy that follows up.
By the way, how many deals today, just today, where we look, I mean, a lot of follow-ups we went through, where that conversation happened and the deal got removed.
Yep.
Because at some point, like you just said there, they have to come to the realization that it's going to sell a lot less than they want. No one's happy with that. If I could give you close to ask, I'll do it.
Right.
If I could, I'd do it. I feel great when I can do that.
Yeah.
But if I can't, then like you just said, you have two options. You can sell it for the number it has to sell for, or you can take it down.
Right.
That's all there is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. And then following
or
up.
maybe creative.
Yeah.
Right. But either way, you still have to do something different than you expected.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to follow up. Following up
Yeah.
is a huge thing to make sure that your business is, you have to take responsibility for your deal. Right.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
So, whether it's locked up yet and maybe you're following up with the buyer, you're following up with title, you're right.
Yeah.
You have to do all of that. But the
Yeah.
follow up is huge. And that's one thing that we've built into our business
Yeah.
is making sure that knowing that the agent has us there to make that purchase if we need to.
Dude,
right?
and I'll give these guys a sneak peek. We are coming up with something right now that's going to help people in a tremendous way.
Yeah.
With all the things we just talked about, and it's very affordable. It's very easy to use. We'll kind of talk about that later.
Yeah.
But the follow up is super important, man. Like getting on this podcast and talking with you is a freaking blast.
Yeah.
I love this because this is I can help people with this.
Right.
I love the ability to do that. So, we went through and we were able to kind of discuss. You and I, when we sit down to discuss what we're going to go over, it's what kind of hits our heart. What can help people the most? Where did we struggle the most? What maybe I wish I could have found all this starting out. Like what I had to go through and it was just like, it was painful.
Yep.
And so it's so awesome for you and I to be able to come on this podcast and just talk about this stuff freely and be able to give this to people.
Take the information, but also get in touch with people like us or us.
Guys, let's connect.
Yeah.
Like, look, at the end of the day, all you could do is get surrounded with like-minded people that want you to succeed. You are going to have a lot of people that are against you. Okay. They're not going to understand it. They're not going to be on board.
Right.
But get around like-minded people that can help you, and you can connect with us. Like, look, I'm going to give you our Instagram is MC Fortune LLC. It's pretty simple. Same thing with Facebook. You can find us on YouTube at MC Fortune as well. We are going to continuously do these. We'll probably have 4 episodes a month going forward, and we'll have a ton of other content out there for people just to help them.
Yeah, and if you guys have things that you want to learn about, comment.
Yeah.
Let us know what topics you want to hear about, because we want to help people learn. And chances are, if you have a question on that thing, there's a lot of people that do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say what some guy I used to work with, phenomenal guy, used to say at the end of everything: onward and upward.
Yep.
Best of luck to everyone. Keep crushing it. And I'm excited to see you guys in the next one. Let's go, man.
All right.